Hey guys, welcome to the studio. Today, still due to the crisis, it's like the first day where I'm a little bit happy because like in the very south of Germany, they announced a full lockdown and it's actually not that strict. People are still allowed to go outside for shopping, groceries, and are allowed to go to work, which was my concern that I might not be able and not be allowed to come here to the studio. No one is there, it's just me, so there is no risk. I just take the car from home to the studio. I haven't seen or even got close to a person in the past 4 days, except for Vanessa, of course. The office, empty, no one there. Still the table separated from a week ago. Also upstairs, it's all just empty. I mean, every normal person would be like, I feel lonely. But so far, I mean, I miss my team. I miss working with them. But I enjoy it somehow. I like being alone. I don't know why. It's maybe just me. I think you need to have that to be a music producer because you're a lot alone. And yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy that it won't be that strict, probably. At least for the next 2-3 weeks. And then we'll see if anything changes or it will get even stricter. But I'm very relieved, very happy about it, because being here in the studio is definitely very important for me. So I promised some kick tips and tricks. Because like whenever I listen to tracks and give feedback, usually the kicks do not really work. And I'm personally also on my tracks always like the kick makes the biggest difference. If your kick sucks, the entire song sucks. It's a lot harder to mix. It's a lot harder to master. It's a lot harder to get the right loudness. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time like explaining what a kick should sound like, feel like, be like, and mostly geared towards people making electronic music and especially like 4-to-the-floor music. So this right here is the entire track that I'm working on at the moment. Really quick, just like break, drop. It's a very simple one. I like to have like kicks that are simple and clean, just sub and like a little click. And then depending on the style of the song, I add a different click to make it sound more live, or like maybe a head, like something on top, maybe even with reverb. I started a couple of weeks ago to make all of my kicks with kick 2, which is really nice. You can shape the kick in any way possible, but everything I will explain is also true for sampled kicks. There you just have to find the right sample. By the way, all of my kicks are available as a download. I link it down below. There's like a sample pack with everything in it. Sometimes I have span open. I leave it open so it's easier for me to explain, because it's a lot about where the kick actually hits. So it's here really at 50 Hertz, which is, I think, the most common in electronic music. If you listen to any kind of track, the kick will be usually at 50 Hertz. Sometimes 5 Hertz higher or lower, but that's the range that is usually best for club music. And then just check out like the shape of the rest of the kick. For example, I could, whenever or let's start at the beginning. Like a kick is just like a pitch down sound, like really fast, and that makes the kick. So at the click, it's the highest, and then it's pitching down, and this creates basically the kick. So for example, the first one, if I drag it up, you will hear a click that is brighter. A lot brighter, like way too much. So that's why I dragged it down. And then the second one right here, it changes like the knock of the kick. You can really see in the analyzer that it's popping out, and it really depends on how high it actually is. Same applies for the very low frequencies. They usually lower really the pitch part of the kick, because like the first is for the click, the second part is usually for the knock, and everything else is like really for the bass note of the kick. Let's maybe choose another one, because I made one like right here that I really like. Same principle. Again, you have like the click, the knock part, and the sustain part. And for all of the people that don't use kick 2, you can really do the same with Serum. I'll show it to you really quick. The initial patch, you choose the sine wave, the standard sine wave. Check right here, envelope. Drag this over there. Lower it. And then you already get a kick sound. The random has to be down. And then it's about sustain, decay. And these kicks, like I personally, I prefer the other program. I mean, you can do it and then maybe watch like a more detailed tutorial on how to make a kick. You then of course add like an attack of a kick. And then it's all about setting these points, same as in the other program. The first one is the click, then the next part is usually for the knock, and then the end is for the sustain of the kick. And you can also smoothen out the shape of it. But back to this one, I prefer it because it's really like made for it. You can, in the amp, change how the volume is behaving. I usually like to have it pretty simple and just use it to shorten or lengthen the kick. And what I like in here, it already shows you the waveform, so you can actually see what it will sound like later on. And yeah, you just tweak it. I would always, like, I would solo the kick, make a kick, or find a kick sample that you like at the beginning of your song. And over time experience, you will have the right samples. And then just start producing the song until it sounds like a demo, like having at least like a breakdown, the drop, the main element, like everything in there as a rough idea. And then going back to the kick and tweaking it before starting mixing. And especially the length of the kick has to correspond with the bass line. If you have, for example, a sustained bass line, as you have a lot in melodic techno stuff, the kick needs to be shorter and just cut through, because there's already bass always. If you have a very groovy bass, a very funky one that doesn't play a lot, then there's more room for the kick and it can be longer and have more bass information in it. The length is super important. You can just shape it with the amp, and then you can add clicks. Here it's just like also just samples that you layer on top. So for example, this kick right here, I don't even know why the click is there, because it sounds pretty much like the click that is already there. But you could go to like housey clicks. And make a kick that sounds like that. I don't like this type of stuff. Something like that to make it cut through. Let's maybe open up another project really quick, just like as an example for a kick that sounds a little more live. That one right there, I layered it. And usually there are like a lot of presets, so I go through the presets. This one is pop Z, so it tries to mimic a Z kick. It didn't fit to the song really, so I tweaked it. And this can take like half an hour. And again, have already elements in the mix. If you tweak a kick on its own, it just doesn't make any sense. You have to tweak it in context to everything else. And I shortened it, definitely. I layered it with something else on top to make it sound more live. Like the little hat. And then you can like change the length, the pitch, and make it sound a little more organic this way. You could also get rid of the synthetic click by just lowering this. Really up to preference, but the length is important. The note, the bass note, to be at like a G, for example. You could go up until to an A to make it fit to the key of your song, or maybe down to F. I wouldn't go anywhere else, to be honest. And that's basically what it looks like in the analyzer. Again, you got that main peak at 50 Hertz, and the rest is basically just there, like at around 100, 200 Hertz for the knock. And everything above that is just to make it cut through the mix. So it's really important to do this while listening to all other elements. And that's pretty much it. I mean, EQing a kick, it's not really necessary. Sometimes I cut below 25 Hertz. I don't know if it helps or it doesn't. I really don't know, because I can't hear it. My speakers don't go that low. Probably no one's speakers goes that low. But sometimes you get a little more headroom by cutting it. And yeah, that's how I make my kicks. That's also the way I would recommend you to make your kicks. Again, just Google for like a Serum kick making tutorial, so you don't have to buy Kick 2, because it's actually quite expensive just to make kicks. But for me personally, it's a little more comfortable and I get better results. Probably because I never spent a lot of time in Serum making kicks. But you should be able to get the same in both. Very simple. And one big advantage, these are not sampled, so you created them and you know what's happening with them, and you can change anytime anything about it. If you use samples, it's hit or miss, and usually they're sampled out of other songs so that you have limiting compression, EQing on top already, and then again and again, because it got sampled and sampled and sampled again. So yeah, just make your kicks yourself, way more control. You will probably at the beginning suck at making kicks. It might take a month until you know how, and definitely save whenever you make a kick, save it, because you don't want to lose too much time every single time you make a song, like creating a kick from scratch. And that's pretty much it. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, leave it down below in the comments. I will now just, yeah, keep on working, keep on making tracks. I'm not afraid anymore that I might not be able to come to the studio in the next 2 weeks. I'm really, really happy. But there's still a lot of stuff I have to take care of. And don't forget, live streaming during the crisis time. I'll try to live stream as much as possible, almost every day at 4 Central European time, or 5, which is, I created this right here. So the times depending on where you live, so that everyone knows when I'm live. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks a lot for watching. See you tomorrow again here on this channel for another vlog in the studio.